Will the Pacers be back in the mix for awards individually this season? Breaking down all the awards they could be in the mix for and why I think there is a good chance for one specifically compared to what you might see out there. It's all coming today on the Locked On Pacers podcast.
You are Locked On Pacers, your daily Indiana Pacers podcast. Part of the Locked On Podcast Network, your team every day.
What up, y'all? Happy Wednesday and welcome into another edition of the Locked On Pacers podcast, where we, of course, talk about the Indiana Pacers as always. My name's Tony East. I cover the team for Forbes and SI, and today we are diving into the awards, the league awards, Rookie of the Year, MVP, Sixth Man of the Year, etc., etc. Not a preview of who should win it. Maybe I'll make predictions if I feel like it along the way. I doubt it. But instead, what Pacers could or should, in some cases, be in the mix for these. A drought, lack is the wrong word here, but a drought has come for the Pacers. They have not had an individual trophy since Oladipo's most improved player in 2017-18. They used to win most improved player every 3 years, it felt like. That's not actually true. But still, it was their thing. They've had lots of stuff along the way. I don't want to delegitimize all NBA teams for Depot and Haliburton, or all rookie teams for Duarte and Mathurin and all sorts of other stuff that's come in along the way, all bubble teams, all cup teams, all that. But they haven't had that award yet. Could this be the year? I thought last year there could be some Sixth Man of the Year buzz for Buddy Hield. I was wrong. This year, I'm going to make a similarly bold prediction about a player who could be in the mix at a certain one that is not getting buzz. Hield was getting some Sixth Man of the Year buzz last year. What you're about to hear has not happened. We're going to go in order of what is listed on the site I'm using for the putting players into buckets thing here. And let's start with MVP, the big one. And normally this is one that I just gloss right over when doing this, because I try to do this every offseason, see what makes sense to me, see what the public is saying. The markets are a good place to start because what people predict is there pretty blatantly. Tyrese Haliburton is clearly the guy here. 14th-ish, depending on where you look, in MVP odds for the coming season. Look, I don't think anyone is going to sit here and tell you they think Haliburton should be much higher than that. My first note is I doubt it, right? But I've talked about it already. I started talking about it, and I have to go down the path now because this kept happening through really Christmas, that early January run where the Pacers won 6 out of 7 or 7 out of 8 or whatever it was, when they looked really good and they were climbing and they figured out the starting five and this is great. And oh my gosh, Haliburton had how many 20 and 20 games or whatever in a row, right? Like near that stretch, people would say to me, like, should he be in the MVP conversation? And I kind of was the pompous jerk because I hate that phrasing, right? I was like, no, he's not been better than Jokic. But like that was real. You know, people talked about him like that. And yeah, his season ended the way it did and had a really funky last 3 months. But until that game, he got hurt, right? Before that game. So his first 32 games of the season, the Pacers' first 35 games of the season, he was averaging 24.2 points, 12.7 assists, right? So his scoring went down by like 4-ish. His assists went down by about 1.5 on 49.6, 40.4 splits. That's an insane stat line to look at. So his field goal percentage went down by a little over 2%, and his three-point percentage went down by like 4% from that point to the end of the season. And for them to drop by that much, that means they were much worse than that the rest of the way. But as I've explained to you many times on the show, his 2-point percentage maintained rock solid through the rest of the season. It was his 3-point percentage that was responsible for basically all of that drop, right? That player probably can't reach the upper echelon, right? The Luka stat lines are going to be nuts again. Jokic is going to be Jokic. Shea is going to be amazing, and maybe the team with the best record. Embiid, Giannis, right? You're going to see that probably the same names, and some guys like Wemby and Ant, and the Jason Tatum, Ja. They're going to sneak in there a sense, right? I don't want to delegitimize any of them by saying what I'm about to say, but like 25 and 13, if you round up both Haliburton stats I just said. No one's getting that, right? No one's even close, right? There were only, I can't do math fast enough, 18 guys at 25 points a game last season, and one was Morant, who played 9 games, who he probably would have maintained that, but 18 guys Okay, that's great. Only one of them hit 10 assists. It was Trae Young. Right? None of them were at 11 or even 12 and a half, nearly 13 in Haliburton's case. Of the guys nearing his assist numbers, which was no one. He led the league. But, Trae didn't get to, wasn't on the games played, and Luka didn't even hit 10. None of those guys get the scoring. Luka obviously is another level with the statistical output, which is why he's the favorite in a lot of places. But Haliburton's combo is extremely rare, and the shooting also is a separator here. Luka didn't hit 40% from three. He can. I keep saying things that sound like I'm delegitimizing other MVP candidates. They're amazing players, but his combination of passing, scoring, shooting for that 2.5, 3 months was no one's done that. No one really does that. And so if that happens again, let's be the rosiest possible path here. If it happens that Haliburton plays at that level and is a little better, so let's say he's a flat, nice 25 points a game, 25 and 13 with remarkable efficiency, and the Pacers win the East or get close to the Celtics in the East. Yeah, he'll be in the conversation. He absolutely will be. So will guys from the Celtics. So will whoever wins the West. If the Nuggets win the West, Jokic or the Thunder with Shea, or the Mavs with Luka, or whoever. And I think winning the West is going to mean a lot. And so I think it's going to be really hard for Haliburton to win this. It's not like an insane route. It just requires him. It's not an insane route for him to be in the top 6, 5, 8. Again, I'm not predicting this is going to happen, but it's totally within the realm of possibility. Because we saw it for 2 months before he got hurt, but he has to do it for a full season, and that didn't happen. And that's harder to do, right? Who knows what his slumps look like post-injury if he's healthy, right? In terms of not having the same shot diet or getting defended differently with Siakam or having to be a screener or playing without Buddy or all that stuff. What if he's healthy? What does that all look like? Who knows? So should Haliburton be higher on the MVP odds than 14th? That seems close to me. Maybe I'd go 12th to 10th-ish because of how high his peak was last year. Because, again, the combination of passing, shooting, scoring is just totally not rivaled anywhere in the league at all. It's pretty remarkable. I don't know who even the closest would be. Luka probably in terms of all three stats, and Luka's a better player, again, to be clear. But I'll be fascinated to see if Haliburton can come out at that level again. The in-season tournament legend that was Tyrese Haliburton. Pascal Siakam, no odds listed for MVP. That's fine. Just not a thing that should happen or would happen in any way. The only sports book one that has odds for him, it's plus 50,000, which just handed me the money at that point. Not a good enough scorer, not a dominating enough at any particular thing, like a top 30 scorer who's a good rebounder. Pascal Siakam's really good. I feel like I'm crapping on the guy. He's not going to be in the MVP mix. I just typed his name down to talk about it for a second. Maybe he gets some other recognition, which we'll talk about in a second, but not this one. The second award that most sites list, why am I even giving this airtime, is Rookie of the Year. The Furfinator. I need a nickname for Johnny Furphy. It's just such a nicknameable name. No, there's just nothing to say here, right? Because last year they drafted a guy in the lottery, and he didn't even play for the Pacers, and he wasn't ready to play, but he didn't even play. Johnny Furphy definitely won't be playing hardly at all for the Pacers this season. If Johnny Furphy has a chance to play enough to be in the Rookie of the Year mix, that alone would be extremely revealing, right? Because you have to play a ton to win. Wemby won last year. Duh, he should have. Wemby played 2,100 minutes. That's not, Furphy's not playing 2,100 minutes. That's 30 minutes a game in 71 games. It's just not happening, right? You go back a year. Rookie of the Year in 2022. Played, Paolo Banchero, by the way. Played, that's his career. Excuse me. I almost just said he played 5,200 minutes. That would have made me look stupid. 2 years ago's Rookie of the Year, Paolo Banchero played 2,430 minutes. That year was 34 minutes per game. You got to play enough to get the stats and prove that you're good. Furphy's not going to play enough. I can't even believe I gave that 2 minutes, but not happening. No other rookies are going to even be around enough with the Pacers for that to happen. Furphy has odds in some sports books. Don't bother. Let's do some more fun ones. And coming up to start this next segment, the award I think the Pacers have the best chance of having a winner in this coming season. Probably their top two actually coming right up. Before we get to that, though, we've got to talk about Gametime, the best way to get tickets to the live events, theater, sports, whatever near you. They have a new feature called Gametime Picks that makes getting tickets for your favorite live events even easier. They filter out the fluff to show you only incredible deals on seats. You don't have to waste your time searching through thousands of tickets anywhere. Even there, Gametime's got it all in one place. Super deals, awesome, right there in front of you. You've got to go through this whole experience because they have the views from your seat feature, which is awesome. You can toggle off the hidden fees and see exactly what you're going to pay, and it's spot on. You know you're getting the best deal because they have the lowest price guarantee. Well, they'll credit you if you find cheaper tickets elsewhere. They have event cancellation protection. They have curated deals to find the best price on great seats. It just takes all the crap out of the process. No guesswork, no hidden nonsense. You get to the end, you pay for what you get, and it's exactly right. I used it, and it was perfect. I should know. Take the guesswork out of buying tickets with Gametime. Download the Gametime app, create an account, use the code LOCKDOWNNBA for $20 off your first purchase. Terms apply. Again, create an account, redeem the code LOCKEDONNBA for $20 off. Download Gametime today. What time is it? It's game time. We are back here on Locked On Pacers. Thanks for making us your first listen today and every single day. This is the deadest of times on the NBA calendar right now. Nothing huge happening in terms of maneuvering. The NBA changed a rule regarding challenges for out-of-bounds calls. It's a good change. So listen to Locked On NBA. Maybe they'll talk about it. Maybe they won't, but it's a league thing. So listen to Locked On NBA. For those who don't know, I'll do this for 2 seconds. Now, if a player loses the ball out of bounds, but they're fouled and it causes them to do so, and that foul is uncalled, a challenge can go back and say, hey, he was fouled, and that's why he had it out of bounds, and that team that got fouled would keep the ball. Good rule change because it doesn't add more reviews. It makes it so the current review process just makes more sense. It's stupid that it wasn't like that before. Good change. Good job, NBA. For once, I actually think a review change is good. I hate reviews so much. Let's keep doing awards. We start with what I think is the most likely Pacers award, and I think the top odds guy is wrong, but I will be curious about the intersection of the two guys we're about to talk about. That's Sixth Man of the Year. Big picture, the Pacers bench, top scoring bench in the league last year, and the best bench unit in the league. Routinely, we talked about it on this very podcast with various guests. The Pacers bench comes in the game. It's the fourth quarter. They're playing against the other team's starters. It's the last-ditch effort for the Pacers opponent, and the bench holds off the starters, and they just win. How many times did that happen in the last 2 months of the season? Maybe a dozen, and that's not even hyperbole. I mean, it was remarkable, right? Their bench was fantastic. It fits well together and has talented players. So I was surprised that their best Sixth Man of the Year finisher in terms of predictions, this is from sports books, which is not necessarily the Bible of what the public thinks, but is, how they're trying to encourage people to bet, was Ben Mathurin at 15th best Sixth Man of the Year odds for Ben Mathurin. The history of the award says that he fits the blueprint the best, right? He can score like crazy, like Lou Williams, and he can have an impact in a unique way on a team like Montrezl Harrell or any number of guys who've won this. Last year, I thought Bogdan Bogdanovic should have won. Like, that can be a path of success for Ben Mathurin. So I get why he has such good odds, because especially if he has a good season, which I think he should, then he'll be in the mix for this because he'll have good numbers off the bench for a good team. TJ McConnell, though, was listed 24th in odds. And I think if Mathurin was out more, I think McConnell's odds should be like 5th, 4th. I mean, come on. This guy just averaged double digits, which is like a requirement for some reason for some voters to consider a guy for Sixth Man of the Year. Over 5 assists, which off the bench has to be among the top guys. Was crazy efficient in the regular season and playoffs. Now everybody knows how good he is, and he got extended. It was in the news. Like, how is this guy not getting more buzz for this? And I actually think the reason is that Mathurin's back. And that's not to say that it's bad for McConnell or the Pacers or that this overlap is a problem. It's just that the ball won't be in his hands as much. So his numbers won't be as high, even if he is similarly effective with his touches. So ironically, both of these players, I feel like when I looked at this, I was like, wow, these guys are being undersold in odds. And I think it's because of each other. If it was just Mathurin and no McConnell, he'd get more chances. His numbers would be better. He'd have a better shot. And the same goes the opposite direction. So I think this is the Pacers' best shot. If their bench continues to be a terror and one of these guys is awesome, that player is going to get a ton of buzz for Sixth Man of the Year. Because I think people too much index on stats and how players fit with starters when they win Sixth Man of the Year. Instead, it should be like Brogdon or Quickly or whatever, or even last year's winners, right? I feel like it should be more about specifically how you play with the bench. I've always kind of felt that way. And that McConnell and Mathurin both could fit that bill very well this season. So I think McConnell's being drastically undersold. I think Mathurin's being slightly undersold here. And this is, to me, the best chance the Pacers are going to have at an award winner. That left shrimp, another sixth man of the year in Indiana. I think one of their guards should have much better odds and should be considered much more strongly for an award like this. Speaking of the Pacers award, most improved player, also a little surprising. The Pacers have just like the perfect setup to have someone stealth on in and get this because they have a lot of young guys on a good team. That's how this goes routinely. Jalen Rose, the Pacers were good. Here comes Jalen Rose to Indiana. Oh my gosh, he was the best player on their finals team. Most improved player came his way. Paul George, Pacers are good. Make the conference finals. Hey, he's ascending too as a young player. Most improved player. Danny Granger wasn't as young, but still young. Victor Oladipo, 25, team's good. Danny Granger's team wasn't as good. That one kind of bucks the trend a bit. But like, this is a thing. The Pacers have these young guys on good teams. Right now, fifth year for Aaron Nesmith, third year for Andrew Nembhard, third year for Ben Mathurin, second year for Jarris Walker, second year for Ben Shepherd, fifth year for Obi Toppin, fourth year for Isaiah Jackson. A lot of young guys. Now, a lot of guys right there in that list who'd go, they're not going to win most improved player, and you're right. But they do have two guys that stand out to me, and that is the third-year guys. That's Ben Mathurin and Andrew Nembhard. They're past the point where people don't want to vote for them because they expect growth from youngsters. But they are at the point where they can help a good team in a major way. So Mathurin is ranked about 16th, which I think was lower than I expected. Again, do people remember his rookie year? Like, even if he just gets back to those stats, I think he was probably better last year than he was as a rookie, right? If he gets back to those stats, everyone's going to go, wow, this guy's better. And he might be better to get to those stats. But, like, I think it's crazy that he's that low. Some of the guys in front of him were very surprising to me. Cam Thomas, Keontae George, RJ Barrett. It's like his sixth season. Really? Ben Mathurin doesn't have a better chance of being most improved player than those guys? But I thought that was very interesting because the path is so obvious. If he just fits a little better, he'll play more and get more chances to do Ben Mathurin stuff and put up huge numbers. I was surprised how low his chances were. I would not put him as the favorite myself. In fact, I should probably be picking who I think would win all these awards the way through. But I think Mathurin was ranked too low here, right? Similar to Sixth Man of the Year. I thought he was ranked too low. But I think the context of the Pacers makes this hard because the other guy I think should be in consideration for most improved player is Andrew Nembhard, who was clearly down the stretch of last season showing those signs of improvement. In fact, throughout the season, from start to finish, showed major signs of improvement. And yet, it's an interesting spot for him because his touches will probably be about the same, maybe even less over the course of a season with the addition of Siakam for the full year in terms of what it means for his stats. But if he gets touches with the bench, because he's with that group at any time, he'd get even more touches. So it's almost similar to Sixth Man of the Year, where they would be competing. If Nembhard's better enough that he is in consideration for the award, Mathurin almost can't be because they are kind of would be encroaching on each other's minutes in that case. Same goes if Mathurin's much improved and he's playing a lot more and getting more chances, Nembhard probably wouldn't be playing as much, right? So honestly, the reason I think that these two have worse odds than I expected is the same as Sixth Man, where they're kind of overlapping, where if one of them is good enough to actually be at the top end of the award, the other one's not having the season that some expect or hope or whatever. And the inverse is true for the other player. So really interesting spot. But I think these are the two most likely awards for the Pacers to me. Would be they're already their own thing, most improved player. And then also Sixth Man of the Year because their bench is so good. In fact, Sixth Man of the Year, they got votes last year, right? That was a big part of the awards voting for them. McConnell, I think, finished 8th. I'll double check while I'm talking because I put these all in one place. Tyrese Haliburton got a first place most improved player award vote last year. And he got other most improved player award votes the year before. Nesmith got a most improved player award last year. I suppose that's possible, but without the shot creation juice, that's usually what it takes. Sixth Man of the Year, McConnell got 2 third place votes. He finished tied for 7th last year. For that one, no MVP votes last year and no Rookie of the Year votes. That leaves 2 more major ones, and then we'll touch on All-NBA, All-Star, all that stuff. Let's finish up looking at the Pacers' chances at winning various awards this coming year. Before we do that, though, let's quickly talk about eBay Motors. Passion, drive, and patience. The formula for winning championships is also what keeps your ride or die alive. eBay Motors has everything you need to maintain your vehicle and level it up to peak performance. Superchargers, roof racks, exhaust kits, LED headlights, and more. Whether you're into speed, power, or style, eBay Motors has you covered. With over 122 million parts for your number one ride or die, you will always find exactly what you are looking for. And with eBay's Guaranteed Fit, your part is guaranteed to fit your ride every time, or you will get your money back. Because with eBay Motors, you're burning rubber, not cash. So with all the parts you need at the prices you want, it's easy to make your car the MVP and bring home some huge wins. So keep your ride or die alive at ebaymotors.com. Eligible items only. Exclusions apply. eBay's Guaranteed Fit is only available to U.S. customers. And we're back here on Locked On Pacers. Thanks for making us your first listen today and every single day. For your second listen, I'll keep plugging this until you listen or get your crossover time, whatever you want as their season progresses. Locked On Colts. Their debut was this past weekend. They can break down the Colts opener, their next game. Packers coming up without their quarterback. I only know that because Jordan Love's on my fantasy team, but still, I know that. You can learn more on Locked On Colts. I will be learning more on Locked On Colts, and you should too, because there's a chance you're a fan of both of these teams if you're hopping in here. Let's do the two other significant awards, and then I guess touch on the little silly stuff. Defensive Player of the Year. How much time do I talk about this? I mean, it's kind of like Rookie of the Year, except not, where they like have players that are going to play. Like they'll play 48 minutes at every position, right? Rookies might not play. Myles Turner is their best odds guy. Not shocking at all. At 19th in a lot of sports books, 19th best odds in a lot of sports books. That's fine. Myles Turner's not the defender he once was, and he was top 10 in Defensive Player of the Year voting a couple times. But it's still probably the team's most impactful or important defender. Look, it's just not happening unless there's a massive change to the way the Pacers guard, right? Because a big factor in these recently, especially for Smart, for Gobert, for Jaren, whoever, has been how good your team defends with you on the floor, even if you're a menace, right? That's what I think held Wembanyama, among many things, back last year is, yeah, he was amazing, but the Spurs stunk, and they weren't like amazing on as a team with him on the floor, even though he was incredible. I don't know how long that'll last. I have a feeling he should be the favorite for this. So Turner's problem is going to be the Pacers aren't going to be good enough on defense, or anyone on the Pacers in the mix for this is going to have that same issue. So unless the Pacers can pull off a miracle and get to 10th on defense, which if you heard the over-unders I did with Will Furr last week, and neither of us thought that even get into the top 20, which is, maybe it's possible, but if that doesn't happen, there's pretty much just no way that this would happen to me, even if Turner has a resurgent 2018-19-esque defensive season. He didn't even win Defensive Player of the Year that year. It's just not happening. Last year, in terms of votes, yes, Pacers players got defensive votes. Not for Defensive Player of the Year, that would be crazy, but for all defense teams, Aaron Nesmith and Myles Turner both got second place votes. So they're both, I guess, recognized and in the mix. They're maybe two of the best three Pacers defenders, along with Nembhard. So if they somehow are incredible as a defensive team, one of those three guys would be the one. This one just feels like it's not happening, though. I'm amazed with this and Rookie of the Year that we got more time out of it than just saying no. Coach of the Year. This flummoxed me, but then I figured it out and actually thought about it. Rick Carlisle tied for 14th for Coach of the Year for a lot of places. Totally possible that this has become the exceeds expectation award, which is fair, right? If to the public means the coach has done a good job. I thought you'd be this good. Wow, you were actually better than that. With the roster you had before the season, that means your coach must have done a good job. That's possible. That's a good way to do it. I think there's a lot more to it than that. But I do think that is a reasonable way to land on the conclusions. So that's why Rick's case was decent to solid last year when he got 2 third-place votes and finished 8th. But I think this year the team's better, which means there's expectations, which means it's much harder to be over those expectations. So I get having him 14th because of that. The way the narrative will go and the way that this award typically goes does not lend well to Carlisle's situation, right? It would be hard for the Pacers have to be first or second in the East for him to even get consideration. That's possible. That could happen. I talked about that with Haliburton and what that would take for his MVP case is them to finish that high. But I don't expect that, even though it is possible, right? They were quite good last year. Crazy to me that he's 14th, though, because the narrative part works against him, especially after a conference finals run. Like, even if they improve a lot and win 55 games, it's like, well, people will say, well, they were this good last year. Well, yeah, but Rick's if they're that good again, Rick's a part of that, and the system he builds matter. So I thought that was too low, even though I would not expect him to win, because usually this is you're projected to win 40 games and you won 50 award, which, hey, that was basically the Pacers last year, but they only got an 8th place finisher at Coach of the Year for their troubles. Clutch Player of the Year is an award that exists. I have no idea if that's even a predictable thing. I couldn't even find decent odds for it, so I'm not going to talk about it. Tyrese Haliburton has the best chance of winning of any Pacers. So of the major awards, to me, the two most likely chances for the Pacers to have a contender or winner would be Sixth Man of the Year and Most Improved Player. They have two sets of guys who could be in the mix for either one of those things, depending on how their seasons go. However, generically, maybe their highest chance of winning an award is All-NBA, right? Totally possible to me that Haliburton could be All-NBA again. He made it last year with not up to his standards 30 games to close the season. He was the 15th guy, but guess what? The 15th guy's the 15th guy. Maybe he was 14th. Either way, he made it. And if he has another year like last year, he could make it again. And if he plays more games, but has the same season as last year, he can make it again. And if he plays more games and he's better, he'll definitely make it again. So Tyrese Haliburton, All-NBA, is probably the Pacers' best shot at an award once again. And that's what they got last year. All-Star, if you count that as an award, Haliburton, again, of course, probably going to be in the mix for his third one in a row here. What about Siakam? Could he actually do this? Hoops Hype just put out their player rankings today for the top 100. We're already at top 100 season. We're at that part of the offseason. I can't believe it. Pascal Siakam ranked 25th in their rankings. In theory, if all-star rosters are 12 in each conference, you can do math. You can divide 25 by 2. He's close. The way he played for the Pacers last year was close, and they were actually good. The Raptors were bad, and that does not help with your all-star case. I think, like I talked about with Will, there's a case for Siakam to be an all-star. I would probably say it's more likely than not that he's not an all-star, but it's totally possible. He's been at that level before. He was good for the Pacers last year. He'll have the training camp now. He's more confident in his defense. I would not predict it, although it's quite possible that could happen. So all-NBA team, yeah, Haliburton could make that. Siakam's made it before, although I wouldn't expect it. All-star team, yeah, Haliburton, Siakam could make that. All-defense team, I will stop you right there. Not happening. Same with all rookie team. It's the same with Rookie of the Year and Defensive Player of the Year, unless the Pacers just have something crazy happen with Furphy where they need to play him, which would mean something catastrophic has happened, or Myles Turner returns to his old self and the Pacers change their scheme on defense completely. I don't think they're going to have an all-defense member or an all-rookie member, and that's fine. That is not something they should be chasing. I mean, being better at defense, they should be chasing, but that's not a key part of what would make their season successful in those ways. Do you think I missed something? You should comment down below if you're watching on YouTube, or you should tweet at me at Tony R. East. This podcast is at Locked On Pacers. That's the best way to reach me and say, hey, idiot, you forgot that this player could win this award. And I'd say, yeah, I probably did. Or I could say, what are you talking about? We'll see. Depends what you say to me, but that is the best way to reach out after these shows tomorrow. Apologies for me going 3-4 many days in a row by myself. Guest tomorrow, we're going to be talking about the 3 most interesting Pacers for the coming season. This is a person who covers the whole league, so I'll be curious about their perspective. Later this week, we'll do a path to the title. Any title. What would it take for the Pacers? What would that path look like? What does it take with their current core? With a guest, and then next Monday, we'll do another guest. With a show topic that I don't want to reveal just yet because I think it's actually pretty cool. And then we'll wrap up the best individual season series early next week as well. So lots of fun stuff coming here. Should get the balance back of having guests on. I was out of town, so a lot to catch up on, but we're there. Hope you guys enjoyed today's show. We'll be back tomorrow talking more Pacers. Till then, everybody, have a wonderful day.